What's going on, you loyal listeners? Thank you for tuning in to the L Squared Podcast. I'm your host here, Luke Larson, and joining me today, as per the usual, my lovely and loquacious special guest who will be leisurely launching you into levity, along with myself, Old Legs.
Yeah, baby. We are leisurely launching you into the dark. This episode. We're going deep. We're going dark. I want you if you're listening at home to maybe pour yourself a glass of scotch.
Yes.
Turn all the lights off. If you're at work, go find a break room.
Turn the lights off.
You have a migraine headache.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I want you to take all your clothes off and just get into a zone.
Yep. You know,
I want you to
channel Ethan Hawke's character from Sinister. I want you to go into a dark room, hang up some bed sheets, pour some bourbon, pull up your sweater and just take a big sigh and just know that what you're about to hear is going to be extremely disturbing. And just, your life will never be the same after this moment.
Because we're diving deep today. We're diving deep into what, you might ask? We're diving deep into the mind.
We're hunting for minds.
Yeah.
We're going to find We're back.
Sure.
And we're doing TV. Me. Luke Larson himself. We're talking about new, granted, television, mind you. This is Luke Larson we're talking about. So viewers, maybe this might sound a little out of character for myself, but when Luke texted me and he's like, "Hey, we could do Mindhunter this week," I can't say that I wasn't just a little pissed. Yeah.
I was like, really? We're gonna do TV now? Now that it's on your terms, we're doing TV?
Yep.
So the other 100 times, instead of talking about fucking, I can't even name a bad movie right now. We've done so many.
Yeah, you're right. Well,
insert shitty Gerard Butler movie that we've talked about on the podcast. Instead of watching about the copious, wonderful world of television, and he finally comes around. He's like, "Sure." I'm like, you know what? I was civil. I was like, "Okay, yeah, let's talk about Mindhunter." Did you watch it?
I did.
Mark? Did you watch it?
Did I? Are you asking me that live on the show?
Yeah.
We're not going to cut this out. Yes, I watched. This is one of the only shows where when the first season came out, I sat down and I didn't get up until I watched the entire thing. I literally binged the entire thing. And then the second season came out, I laid down and I watched the entire thing and didn't get up. So we'll get more into that later. But, I mean, as far as TV goes, this is a milestone. And, I mean, if Mindhunter can do that to me, of all people, there's the sky's the limit for this thing. Good on you, Netflix.
Yeah. I mostly agree. Me having seen more TV, I can really, really bat up my nose at a statement like that.
Of course,
but I'll choose not to because.
Well, that's very diplomatic of you. Thank you.
I do appreciate Mindhunter for what it is.
Shut up! Oh, you appreciate it for what it is. That is the most pretentious. That might be the most pretentious thing you've ever said on this show.
Are you going to let me finish?
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself. we promised ourselves we wouldn't get there.
Good pull. All right. Yeah. I mean, I love Fincher. It's a 9-hour Fincher film. and I really appreciate how, I don't know how he does it, but he always seems to have this knack for pulling it, with his casting, just being able to really nail it without, in most cases, really plucking from like A-list actors.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some exceptions to that, but there's just like some of the more iconic stuff has just been really, people who are on the cusp or who would kind of later blow up after the fact. But so yeah, Mindhunter season 2 picks up basically it like Halloween 2 style, almost immediately after Holden has his episode with Ed Kemper at the finale of season 1. So tell me, what were your impressions of season 2? What really caught your eye? What did it really spark inside you that really left that impression?
Well, I'll say that where season 1 is phenomenal, is really great, and it really took its time laying the foundation, and not like they could have easily just skipped ahead to the meat and potatoes of it. But I appreciated that they set it up, and they took their time, and they invested in the world and the world building of it, which you do. I now realize you do with a TV show. But
like,
whoa, this is crazy. What's going on?
What are these ancillary plots going on?
Whoa.
Are we gonna get a standalone Greg episode?
Exactly.
What's Greg? That's what I'm wondering. Like, what does Greg do when he goes home?
That's what I keep thinking. Where is Greg this whole time? And so it took, but then once and you enjoyed it, you enjoyed the setup, and then once that turn hit, once that punch hit, it was just like amazing, and I couldn't get enough of it. So like this one, again, is sort of like it transitions nicely, where it has a similar structure where it's like, okay, well, we were just downshifting again into this new season where we came off of him having the panic attack, and then now we're slowly getting back into it, and everybody's finding their footing, and it's I really loved it. A couple things that I guess we'll get more into it later, but really like one of the things that jumped out to me in the second season is how much they focused on the bureaucracy of the FBI.
Yes.
And like how
that's my favorite part.
It was my favorite part too, because it was just like they couldn't.
The red tape.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved how they focused on that, and it was like that is awesome, and that's really impressive. And it's like, yeah, that's how shit is, and it's not easy to just get shit done, please. And on top of dealing with all this other stuff. And I also liked how they focused on the strain on Bill's family. And Bill, I found, is one of my favorite characters of all time. Bill Tench. I love Bill Tench. I can't. I'm a Bill guy.
I feel like you're definitely a Bill in the internet. Which Mindhunter character are you?
Oh, 100%.
Which I would probably refuse to take without a lawyer present.
Of course,
because I'm scared I would get.
That's a good point.
I'm scared like what convict I would get. I'm like, whoa, wait, whoa, whoa.
I'd probably be a Kemper if I was a convict. I feel like I'd be a Kemper. I'd take that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if I could rock a flat top, I would probably be Bill right now. But I absolutely love Bill, and I like how they focused on. They really put a lot of time into literally just him traveling back and forth, and
so yeah, so I would agree, and I think that was a huge upgrade from season 1 because the Holden backstory with his personal life was easily, I felt like, the weakest part of season 1.
I agree with that.
I really didn't. He wasn't really interesting or compelling. He's mostly a dick,
Right. Yep.
He's essentially playing the McNulty character of The Wire, which we'll touch back on because I think there's a lot of similarities with the show and The Wire, which is by my accounts and many other people's accounts the greatest television show ever made. And we'll get to that a little bit later because you touched on some stuff I wanted to talk about. But yeah, just like focusing more on Tench and having this thing that he's kind of being pulled in every which way worked really, really well, and kind of sliding in the Dr. Wendy Carr into that secondary character position to what's going on after work, right. Which it just worked. It worked so much better.
It did
than the Holden stuff and his placebo girlfriend, which thank God they didn't like try to like rework this season or give maybe her character extra depth and I'm just glad that they were just like, you know what, Holden's just gonna be there. He doesn't have a personal life anyway. He's addicted to his job and that's fine. I'm like, cool, perfect. Like, sign me up.
Yep.
So, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and, well, thank you. Mark the time. I always like to keep a track. You know, I know somebody's out there who's listened to every episode. Every time Old Legs agreed with me. I will please get that list back to me. I'd like to review it and timestamp it if you could. But, yeah, a lot of things I loved about it. I liked how, you know, I don't know. What did you think about in the first season, the whole principal tickling subplot in the first season? Do you remember that? It was like,
kind of,
because that was like, other than, I agree with you, Holden's girlfriend was just, there was a nothing. It was just a placeholder. But I think that part, I didn't necessarily, it's the part that stuck out to me the most, where I'm like, that just felt like it didn't fit in the rest of the show, where he was in town and they're like, oh, there's an FBI man here. Hey, there's this principal who's like congratulating these kids by taking them in his office and tickling them, and like that we think it's weird. Can you investigate it? And he's like, okay, I guess. And then he starts to kind of investigate it, and then the teacher gets pissed and like, it's like, yeah, what was that? Why was that even part of this?
I mean, I guess it serves his character to where he's not necessarily, he's motivated in ways that are unlike almost every other person at the Bureau.
That's true.
Where he doesn't care about moving up in the ranks, and I would assume at some point, I'm assuming this show is going to keep going, but assuming he's probably going to sabotage his career even more towards the betterment of a case or some particular thing that really irks him. And you can already see towards the end of the season, too, where he's really not ready to take this victory lap. Whereas I think Holden, for as he's like becoming a more well-rounded character, we can also see that he's absolutely willing to play the game. He's willing to do it. He'll show up to the benefits. He'll tell the smarmy jokes. He'll do the back patting. He'll do what he needs to do.
Oh, you mean Bill Tench?
Which is good because you need that guy on your team. But I think that subplot kind of lends itself to what happens in this season, because again, it's kind of the same. He's talking to the hotel attendant, and the hotel attendant's like, well, can you come look at this? And he's like, yeah, sure, okay, like, I'm an FBI guy, like, why not?
Right.
And he just kind of finds himself in this thing again where he's all of a sudden he's knee deep in 19 homicides and counting, like.
Yep, and that one I liked more. That's I'm glad you drew that conclusion, because I was just about to as well. When that started, I was like, oh great, here we go again. It's going to be another Holden subplot where he's going to look into the side thing, and it's not going to be anything, and it's not going to go anywhere. And not that like I hated that in the first season, but for just some reason it stuck in my head. Where this one, it was like, that's kind of what it felt like right away. We were like, okay, yep, I feel for him. Like, I would do that too. I would be in the same position Holton would be in. I would. But then I like how this actually turned into the main, really kind of became the main plot there, and it wasn't just a throwaway thing, and it was extremely interesting, and I liked the mix of the old and the new, and it wasn't just like, all right, let's just do another round where we'll just chalk up the most famous serial killers you heard of, and we'll just do a whole season of just interviews with them, and then we'll call it good. Where, like, they could have easily done that, and it would have been enjoyable, and people would have ate it up. But I really like how it transitioned, like you said, from Holton to Tench being more the main character, and then to the doctor, and it felt more natural, and it was more interesting. And we got a lot more character development in that. And then also, it wasn't just focused heavy on, like, okay, we're just interviewing serial killers. Well, now it's like, well, we're in the field, and now we have to deal with this fucking bureaucracy and the red tape where we can't get fucking anything done. We can't get goddamn crosses ordered. And, like, taking orders from different jurisdictions, and then, like, having this boss who's who you're like, finally, we have, like, a boss who believes in us. And we're not fighting for relevance. But the downside of that is, because I've worked with both, the plus side of having a boss who doesn't necessarily believe in what you're doing is that he'll stay off your back because he doesn't want to think about you, right? He's just like, whatever, like, just stay out of my way, don't make any noise, and just, like, you know. But then when you have a boss who believes in you and wants you to do well, and you're like, oh, this is great right away. But then it's like, you got to deal with him being a little bit of a micromanager and getting in and being like, well, why did you do this? And then all of a sudden he actually gives a shit about everything you do, and that's a whole nother dynamic. So I really like how all those things played together, and then it adds more pressure. And I think it was a great step forward. And yeah, I mean, I guess we haven't even talked about other stuff, but what were some things that stood out to you coming from the first season into the second one?
Yeah, so what you were just saying there with the red tape and just getting, well, who do I have to talk to get the flyers printed, and then 4 different avenues to get the flyers printed, but then you also have to talk to all 5 jurisdictions to hand out those flyers. But if you do all that, like, oh yeah, I'm your guy. Like, I'll get those flyers out there.
Yeah, no problem.
That right there, that so vividly reminded me of every single reason why I like The Wire. So The Wire is a television show, and it aired for 5 seasons about the city of Baltimore, crime in Baltimore, essentially. It never really followed, like, true-to-life events. There wasn't, like, real name characters. There was... Essentially, the series creator, David Simon, was a crime reporter for the city of Baltimore for years and years and years. And I feel like that closeness that he had to the city itself, the police department, is what gave him the ability to really write these stories that were so nuanced. And that was a big part of it. It was like, look at all of the shit that you have to do just to solve one crime, and understanding, like you said, with their new boss, where their first meeting with Bill, you're like, oh, like, this guy's a good guy, right? And you're just thinking he's just going to be the guy at the end of the episode who, like, pats him on the back and is like, great job,
he's
guys.
Just all green lights. Keep doing it.
Actually, this guy might be a fucking monster.
Right.
Like, we have no idea what his motivations are other than procuring more power. And he's not involved in anything other than getting results. And so he is going to push and push and push. And yeah, that's going to ratchet up the tension. And you're like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, like, this guy...
Yep.
This guy might be even worse than the dude that's, you know, either just kind of off in the background or opposing them altogether. But yeah, like that nuance, that intricacy, that of just the the chain of command, all of the red tape, that's all stuff that is just embedded in The Wire and what made it an incredible show. And I don't really want to talk about it anymore just because, I mean, there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of think pieces about The Wire, and I really don't think I have anything new to say about it or to give it any sort of credence. But I will just say that I really appreciated that, because you don't really see that type of storytelling in television these days. And I think that Fincher, him being the kind of the colossus that he is, can make a television show and I mean, I was thinking about this on my little pre-pod walk, just like the legacy of Fincher and how I think he gravitates towards these stories that have already been told, right?
He does, kind of.
I mean, you think about it. You think about, like, Zodiac. I feel like Zodiac may be his best, and that is about a bunch of murders that have already happened, and it's just about, like, why did this guy do it? What was it's all about the why. Same thing with Gone Girl to an extent. I mean, it's about a crime that has allegedly already happened.
Right.
And I think he's super fascinated with this aspect of understanding, because Tench and Holden, they're not investigating crimes. I mean, they end up trying to be cops, solving a murder case at the end of season 2, but their job is to understand. And I think that's super fascinating, because we don't see that. And you're right, we could have easily just fallen into, well, let's just pick the most grisly murder from 1979 and just really roll with it, right? But the idea to land on the Atlanta child murders, which went largely unsolved, and shed light on this fact that people of color, prostitutes, these large swaths of people who are considered amongst crime as like the less dead, right? These people go missing. Right. These people don't show up for work, and it's just there's not really much of any investigation, if any investigation at all, right?
Yep.
I mean, so shedding light on that, I think, is super cool, because I mean, even probably still to this day, it's these crimes that were happening in Atlanta. It wasn't John Benet Ramsey going missing. This doesn't instantly go live on everyone's television for 2 weeks, right?
And another great aspect of that was, like, okay, so we have these crimes happening to young minority children, primarily black, right, are going missing and getting killed, and they're saying nobody gives a shit about it. Okay, I mean, fair, obviously. I mean, if nothing's being done, then that's an obvious conclusion to make. So then you think, okay, well, Holden's going to care. He's going to go in and figure it out. And then you think, okay, well, they had the city's first black mayor, right? At that time, I believe they said. They elected a black mayor, and they have a black congressman who's, and you think, okay, hey, they're gonna change the way people look at this. They're gonna be like Liev Schreiber in Spotlight, and they're gonna change the way we look at stuff. And they're going. They knew. Exactly. They knew. And they're gonna flip the script, and they're gonna actually go through, and they're gonna start solving this. But then the more time that goes on, you see how political obviously they are, being politicians. But they think, well, we have this brand new airport. We want this airport to be the biggest airport in the world. We don't need all this kind of crazy, this media coming in here, and we don't want people flying out here. If we have a serial killer on the loose, we want people to come spend money at this airport. And then oh, we don't want to put the thing out there that it's a African American man that we're suspecting. We can't have somebody, in a town with this many, with the population of African Americans we have. We can't have people, we can't say that we're hunting down one black man. Oh, we got to go after the Klan. we need the clans to be the one after this because the people get behind that, and like that'll make us look good, you know. And it's just all that was refreshing, and it was really nice to see, and it was like it felt a lot more true to life than a lot of things, you know.
I agree. I also liked that you didn't ever feel like Holden was like some omniscient being where no matter what he had to be right, because I was like, fuck, like maybe it was the clan, like that makes sense, like
it
like,
does.
How do you know, Holden?
Right.
Like those fucking assholes probably did kill at least a couple. Like, you know, I was just like, I was right with them. I was like, no, fuck that. Like, it probably was them.
Right.
Yeah. And it's just like these dickheads are like, but I mean, there's two sides to it, and they're both. I think that each of them there's a lot of credence to either side of the argument, and you got to think as well. Holden too is trying to still formulate this methodology for solving these things, right? Because all of this stuff that they're doing is like leading edge at the time. You know, nobody's ever heard of a serial killer,
right?
Right? Whereas like we are just so indoctrinated in knowing this stuff, right? I mean, I think if you sent me back in a time machine back to like the early 70s, I would be like fucking Sherlock Holmes and like Liam Neeson, like molded into one person, like solving every crime in America with all of my knowledge of bullshit, like documentaries and
that's true,
and true crime, just that's been force fed down my throat. Freaking Making a Murder, season 10, like, you know, it's like it's this thing that is so ingrained in our society, I feel like. But yeah, so it is refreshing. You're totally right there, for sure.
So the BTK killer, that's the
I got some issues with the BTK killer.
Okay, so that's the mustache, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The bind, torture, kill.
Yes. So
fucking Dennis Rader.
I was really hoping that we'd be on his trail yet. He came up.
I got some bad news for you.
And they mentioned him, but you know, we all know how that goes. But
well, I don't know. Do we all know? Because I mean, we didn't apprehend Dennis Rader till 2005. So,
yeah,
we got like a lot of seasons of Mindhunter and a lot of random instances of this fucking dickhead trying to get copies of like the handmade porn he's doing in the library. I swear to God, like
You've
Dennis
been
Rader, boy, was that guy like born into the wrong generation. I feel like it, like maybe I can't even. Now it's gonna sound like I'm defending Dennis Rader, but man, if that guy had like the internet and just like some weird fetish websites that he could go on and just kind of, you know, get himself off that way, maybe we'd have a few less murders. But like.
Yeah, or maybe it would make his craving for murder more so by tapping into it and indulging.
Yeah, like if he had Grand Theft Auto 5,
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
No, yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, video games. Thank God he only had Atari.
Right.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't imagine Dennis Rader if he had all the awful.
Yeah.
Awful
just terrible.
It's that are just polluting our youth here.
It's just so
disgusting.
It's blatantly clear, and it's so easy. We should just ban them. Just take them away. Obviously,
I can't even do it. Yeah. So yeah. Sorry to step on you there. I just wanted to make the point that we don't catch this guy for a long time. So unless they do like a little bit like Tarantino revisionist history, where I don't know, they just kind of magically catch him. I feel like Holden and Tench are going to be retired.
Yep.
Before
and
he's
you're
caught.
right.
I mean, he's not necessarily like even on their
radar. Yeah,
but,
like they finally brought him up a little bit, and they were like, "Oh, there's one guy people kind of look at, but then he like kind of goes away for a while. We don't really know much."
Mm-hmm.
And he looks like he's copying from a few other killers, so we're not really sure what his deal is. But yeah, I mean, I just that scene it's just so haunting when his wife comes home, and I mean that was like, whew, this is not easy to watch.
So I kind of wanted to ask you this because I've
never done that. Nope, I've never done that.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and go with my second question then.
You're like you gotta try it, Luke. Dude, don't knock it, man.
So I kind of wonder. I like the BTK stuff, and it's just kind of this nice little refresher that takes you out of it for a while because it's a nice just little palate cleanser if you could call BTK that.
I really,
it's different.
Man, that is such different. A good. They need to put that on like a poster somewhere. The BTK is kind of a nice palate cleanser. Quote.
Right.
Old legs.
In this context, he's a welcome refresher. But I always kind of wondered about like what's his mechanic in this show, and is it more or less just because he doesn't fit the traditional mode that these guys
I think that's part of it, but I think that there's a line that Ed Kemper said this season that I think kind of relayed back to that, where Ed Kemper said, well, those are just the ones that you've caught. Those are just the ones that have been caught. And it was sort of like...
But their profile, the profile that they're making is really based on Ed Kemper. Lone Wolf.
Right, yep.
Has not a steady job.
Yep.
Mommy is isolated. Is away from people. BTK, like, he's a dickhead and he's an asshole and he's a terrible poet. But he was none of that. He had a wife and kids and a family, and he was a youth pastor.
Right. So
and he had all this stuff, which is like he didn't fit any of these.
So
any of this stuff that they've been gathering from these other serial killers, he's not like any of those guys.
So
I just kind of wonder if like that's like the contrast to like, even though we're learning all this stuff, there's still somebody that's going to be completely different, or is like it's not like an exact science? Is that kind of
I think
what
that's
it's getting at?
I think yes, I think so, and I also think that like that also ties back to Ed Kemper saying, well, those are just the ones you've caught. So the profiles you're making, this profile you're fitting, is based on Ed Kemper and the other serial killers that have been caught, and some of them needed to be caught or wanted to be caught, like Ed did, and like he's saying, like this, it's such a unique and extremely fascinating mindset, obviously, which is why everyone is fascinated by it. But it's just like, right, like you said, they're building this profile based on guys who have been caught, who've done it before. But I'm sure there's guys out there that have been doing it longer than BTK was, and maybe even worse, and never got caught, or never will get caught. You know, I'm sure
Jeffrey Epstein.
That's it.
Rest in peace.
Was the one. Rip, dude. It sucks, man.
Finally got him.
Yeah.
Clintons, baby. The Clintons got him.
Yeah, I love how political our show is all the time.
No anime, no politics.
That's right. There's 2 rules of the podcast, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not allowed to talk about either.
So I was gonna ask you what you wanted to see out of season 3, but I don't really know. Like, if they stay on the similar formula they have, where I don't know. I trust David Fincher, and I trust whatever direction they want to take it. You know, I mean, they could go. The nice part about this series is they could really go in. They could go in a lot of different directions, and I'd be okay with them. I just really love the setting. I love the vibe. I love the tone, and I can't help but every time they walk into a room, I can't help but hear. I think it was Honest Trailers where they were talking about David Fincher films, and they were like, dimly lit interiors. And like, I think that every time somebody walks into a room inside, it's like, wow, they just don't have any lights in here, and all the windows are blacked out every single time.
Hey,
and
we gave a disclaimer at the start. Go somewhere dark.
Go somewhere dark. David Fincher
pour the bourbon,
gets that.
Pour the scotch, pour the Irish whiskey, and just get in that mindset. You got to go dark. You got to go deep. That's what it's about. Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I'm not sure. I guess, like, I like their decision to do something that doesn't feel like a retread. Like, I guess it would be easier for me to say what I don't want to see. If they just, like, they're like, all right, Ted Bundy, here we go. Like,
yeah.
Like, that would be annoying. Right?
Yeah.
That would be dumb. I mean, even, like, the Mansons, I'm glad, again, because, like, Manson really has nothing to do with this story. I like that we're continuing to bring up Manson, but we continue to just kind of shun him down into this corner.
Discredit him.
Dude,
yeah.
you're a fucking idiot, dude.
Yeah, he is.
You're either an idiot or you're like this CIA operative genius who has been keeping us going all these years, and you were brainwashed, and you're an American hero, you're a patriot, but you got caught up in Project Treadstone, and I just like I can't even do it.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Did you see that the book, the longtime Manson writer reporter is like came out with this book, and it's like this whole fucking thing where he's a CIA agent and
nope.
all this shit where the CIA was messing with his mind with drugs.
Of course. Yeah, why not?
I just I can't do it. I can't. I love a good conspiracy, but
so
I'm sorry.
Which text?
Can't do it.
Which text was better, text in Mindhunter or text in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Two very different texts.
Yes.
I guess we get like the kind of not rolling acid text.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of a before and after.
Like,
yeah.
pick your poison. Do you like?
Right.
Do you like out of his mind acid text, or do you like evangelical Saved by Christ text?
Right.
I kind of imagine like 10 minutes in a room with either of them
would be
is like
unbearable.
Probably like equally insufferable.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely true.
So if I had to choose, I would maybe go neither. But like,
I wasn't ready for that. Yeah. I mean, if you had a gun up to my head, I'd probably have to pick neither.
Yeah. But it's a good show. Like I said, it brought me back. It felt there were some aspects of this show that reminded me of The Wire, which is again the greatest television show ever made.
Was that made by the Home Box Office Network?
If you're referring to yes, HBO, you are correct.
Okay, that was a plug. They're our new sponsor. HBO is now sponsoring the L Squared podcast. So check them out. They got some good stuff over there. They're kind of a new.
It's kind of a new thing. The live show.
Right, the live show on Home Box Office Network. Yep.
Yeah, we're actually going to be streaming it on HBO's new channel on Twitch.
Yep. Check us out.
for all the Gen Z listeners out there.
That's right. This one's for you.
We got you covered. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Any closing thoughts? Are we just gonna wait another 2 years here and we'll be back?
And I'm fine with waiting another 2 years, and we can do it again. But in David Fincher we trust. Definitely check out. We did a full David Fincher filmography episode where we went through every single one of his movies and in order, and it was fun to track his progression as a director. Was really fun, so definitely go check that out. And now we have Mindhunter in the books, and yeah, I trust David Fincher. We've had season tickets for David Fincher for a long time. I think a lot of people have, and I really like where the show's going. It's very, it's definitely just like this. Just checks almost all of my boxes that I want out of a TV show. So for Luke, that's important, and that's what gets me out of bed in the morning for
that's what gets us talking about television on the podcast.
That's right.
Got to check all your boxes.
That's right. Check them all. Well, speaking
if it doesn't check one, sorry.
Yep. Speaking of checking boxes, you can check my box on Twitter at LukeLarson89. Also find this podcast at L Squared Podcast on Twitter. You can find us on SoundCloud and YouTube. We're also on Instagram at L Squared Podcast, on Facebook at L2 Podcast. Check us out. Leave a like, leave a comment. Tell us how much you hate old legs. I always love to hear that. No negative remarks about the host, please. Thank you. And then we have our Patreon.
Yes.
Do we have any new additions for this month?
So super exciting. So I know that we teased my special birthday pod last week, but that's only coming to Patreon subscribers. We did this really awesome thing. We were out in the Bahamas, and we taped a pod. We went down into the water. We did a podcast. We were in a shark cage. We talked about the film. It was a blast.
It was
we
fun.
saw some sharks.
Yeah.
We didn't get left in the Gulf of Mexico, which was awesome.
That was nice. I agree.
I thought that was pretty great. I was totally willing to use Luke as a human shield to propel myself up and get to safety if need be, but it didn't happen.
I signed a waiver. I was ready for that to happen. Not a big deal.
Yes. Yeah. It was great working with everyone from Discovery, and like I said, just go out, and if you wanted to check out that pod, hey, just sign up for the Patreon.
Yeah,
you'll be able to see the 47 meters down podcast that we did on my birthday.
And I just want to give a quick shout out to our captain, the captain of our ship, Jack Pardee. You were a man amongst men, and I really like how your neck beard connected right to your chest hair. That was really tasteful, and I appreciated it.
Yeah. And not even once did I scream at Luke, telling him that it's not like going down to the bay and catching bluegills and tommy cats.
Yep. That was a few times. You know what I just thought of though, old legs?
What's that?
We should have got video. We did the whole thing on audio.
Right.
So
you can tell. You can tell.
You can hear it in our voices.
Trust me, listeners. Go out, subscribe to the Patreon, and I within the first couple minutes, you're gonna know. You're gonna know. You're like, these guys are down there. They're down deep. They're down deep.